something that was brought to my attention in an earlier interview about we live in a world now where everything is videotaped. We're being videotaped right now, and we can send this anywhere in the world, literally. Is there is a citizen allowed to record without obstructing justice something that is going on? It might not be a policeman harassing a citizen. It might be a citizen harassing a policeman. Is a citizen allowed, as long as they're not obstructing justice, to record an event like that going on?
Yes, absolutely they are. And in fact, one of the things that we like to remind our officers of is that they have to conduct themselves as though they are always on videotape. We have cruiser video, which even if it doesn't capture the actual video of what's going on, depending on the camera angle, it's still going to, in all likelihood, get the audio of the conversation or the, the sounds of what's happening, which helps to give us a good idea of what really took place in an incident. Right. Also, cell phone cameras are everywhere, and yes, if someone is outside of the area that is being controlled by the officers, because again, when the officers, especially at an emergency scene of some type, if they have an emergency that they have to deal with, they have to first set off or set up what basically amounts to a safe zone within that area, so that they can protect not only themselves, but even more so any victims, any witnesses, and any suspects that they need to be dealing with. And so as long as people stay out of sight of that area that the police have secured, and they're not, again, if they're not out in the street where there may be a traffic obstruction or something like that, but if they're up on the sidewalk and they're videotaping with their cell phone, and it's not anything that's interfering with the officer's ability to control that emergency scene, then yes, they are absolutely within their rights to videotape.
And not only are they permitted, we would encourage them to do that, not only just for police officers, but for, like you said, any kind of crime that may be going on. As long as they keep themselves out of harm's way, we don't want anybody to get themselves into trouble. If it's anything that you can view when you're out in the public, then you have the right to videotape it. There's nothing that says you can't. So there's nothing better than videotaped evidence. So yeah, we really encourage people to do that if they could.
Okay. One more question I have, and it's on my mind, because now, wasn't there a law passed where it was against the law to drive around talking on the cell phones in the county?
Actually, there's currently a bill within the state legislature for texting while driving. There is nothing.
Oh, okay.
There is nothing that outlaws talking on a cell phone, and even the current legislation, as it's proposed, my understanding is it will only prohibit texting while driving. It will not prohibit talking on a cell phone. Okay.
Because at one time I was under the understanding, I guess I heard this from a few people, that there was law out where you wouldn't, because my wife is from Philadelphia, and in Philadelphia you can't drive anywhere on the cell phone at all. You have to have some type of head, and it's I drive down the street daily, and it's nothing for me to almost get in an accident or behind someone who's moving too slow that's on the cell phone. I even been behind police officers that was on the cell phone, but I ain't gonna say nothing. But that's just something I wanted to get out of there. Travis, is it?
Yeah, just one last thing for me. Is there anything that you guys would like the public to know about the type of people that are employed with the Lima Police Department, the type of training that they're going through, just to let, kind of put people's mind at ease, saying, hey, we are here for you? Or do you guys have any type of diversity training, sensitivity training, anything like that you feel is, deemed even necessary to have? Or do you feel that the type of guys you already have on the force already have a good understanding of the people that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
Well, the main thing I like people to know is that talk to the officers when they're out there. To come on, that they're there for people to come up and talk to, and they like it when people come up and talk to them. When they don't have to deal with them in a negative situation where somebody's a victim. If they just want to come up and chat or give them information, We have had diversity training in the past, and we can always have more of that. The more understanding that we have and the more communication, the better it's always going to be. So I think that's a big thing, and certainly the chief can speak to this, but I think communication is a top priority of his, and if we can get that done, then we're all going to have an easier time of things. So.
Yeah, and the only other thing I would like to add to that is that the only way we're going to break down the perceptions or the barriers that have been created, again, through a lot of different reasons and issues, is going to be by having more interaction between the police and the public. But again, interaction in a non-enforcement type of setting. Right. So I would also agree with what the major said, and just encourage people that, you know, if you see an officer out and about somewhere and he's not dealing with, again, obviously if the officer's on a traffic stop, you can't come up and start trying to have a casual conversation with him during that environment or in that environment. But you know, if the officer's out and about and is not assigned to a call or that, and take time to speak with him, get to know him. We are hoping to have some more community forums. There's only been just a couple that came about as part of the stakeholder roundtable. And as we are able to start organizing more community forums, then what I would just, again, strongly encourage is that people come out to those forums again. And it won't be just me that they get to hear. There'll also be the Sheriff's Department, but we'll have other members of the Police Department available for breakout sessions of that, just to give people those opportunities to sit down and talk to people.
So is there any targeted time for something like this to take place?
It is in the very early planning stages right now, okay. So I don't want to give any... I don't want to give a time frame because there's other. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm afraid though, if I give a time frame at this point, because there's other people's schedules that are involved, I'd hate to commit somebody else to a time frame that they couldn't keep up with.
I'll be back.
Absolutely.
One more thing I wanted to add. I think I said that last time, but I mean it this time. I was working in Dayton, and they had police officers that are in the school building. Not at all schools. I forgot which one of the suburban schools it was, but they had officers in there. That makes a difference, I think, because, you know, one thing with, you know, some of the kids that were in the inner city, the only time they see officers is in an enforcement type situation. So now their stigma towards officers is when you come around, something bad is happening. You know, whereas with the suburban students, they were able to see the officer in the hallway, shaking hands, you know, kind of getting to know them, kind of mess around with them, not kind of joke around with them and stuff like that. So that definitely, I feel, makes a difference with how law enforcement officers are perceived. So is that something that you guys could potentially do, or could, you know, be in a works or talks, just, hey, get out there, let's meet these kids at school, let's get to know them, let's, you know, so when you see them at school, you know, a couple times a week or whatever, then you see them on the street, then they're looking like, you know, you're a friend. Like I think it was Officer Bob, maybe, that was at Safety City back in the, or Officer Meyer. Yeah, Officer Meyer was there, and then I think the other guy was Officer Bob. He's like 6'8" something. Yeah, so no, he said it was Bob. So, you know, when you're, yeah, so as a kid, you know, you knew those guys, and that was your friend because he was at Safety City. So if you saw him out and about, it was a good thing. So, you know, if that could be a potential thing for you guys to do, to get out to the schools.
Well, I would like to first of all say that the Safety City is still alive and functioning, and we now have Officer Dave Estano, who is the one who oversees that. And in fact, this week will be the last week of the summer program series, but then also he does get into the schools on a very regular basis during the school year. And in fact, how he has the energy to keep up with the schedule, sometimes I don't know. But then in addition to that, as far as the getting the officers out into the schools on a regular basis, it really, I like that idea because it definitely does serve two purposes in addition to allowing the officers to have non-enforcement related interaction with the young people. It also does act as a deterrent. Again, not just necessarily the kids that might act up and cause trouble, but it helps to keep adults from wanting to come into the school and cause trouble. And so we have done some of that with the pinpoint officers during the school year from our day shift pinpoint officers, as making that one of their proactive activities is getting out and doing walks through the schools and all. And we certainly do intend to keep that up.
Now, I want to ask, is a very serious issue we have going on about bath salts now. what is the police department or law enforcement period doing on the crackdown of the bath salts?
The biggest thing that happened was the ordinance that City Council passed that for inside the city of Lima, you cannot possess bath salts or sell bath salts or use bath salts. Unfortunately, outside of the city, there's no such ordinances or laws yet prohibiting that. You're right, it is a major concern for us right now because of the health concerns and the damage that it causes to people. I hope all that your audience passes it on to everybody about how dangerous those are, and to please talk to especially the younger kids to keep them away from that.
How many cases have already happened here?
I'm saying around 20 or so, probably at least that we know of, that we've been called to, that we've had to deal with people, you know, things such as people thinking that people are chasing them. One individual had his shoes off because he thought his shoes were attacking him, things like that, that, you know, that these last for days and days where they're causing these kind of problems. So we do have the right to arrest people now who are using those inside the city of Lima. We have been taking enforcement action with that. We've went to all the stores and the gas stations to make sure that no longer are those being sold in the Lima area, and it seems that everybody is complying with that right now. So
now, have you guys ever went into the schools and talked about this?
we have not, and I think the reason for that is because this started becoming prevalent after the school year ended. So next year, I'm sure that Dave Astano and the pinpoint officers who are in there will certainly be talking to the kids about that. So I think that City Council passing that ordinance has made a big difference for here, but unfortunately, they can still get it outside of the city.
That's it. That concludes this interview. It's just as clear as day. You know, I really want to thank you for coming and getting down on our level. Thank you for coming out and letting me talk to you. I hope for you to come back. Definitely hope for you to come back. Definitely, you don't have a choice.
Well, as I told you before, my hope would be that maybe we can have other officers from the department come out here too, and again take advantage of the same forum, because as you mentioned, it's good for the public to get to know who their police officers are.
Right, right.
Yeah, you know, and just even on that is if there is you know, officers that patrol different areas. So if there's an officer that's their area is, let's say, the 6th Ward, then if they come out here and then, you know, we can talk to them and just kind of interview them and let the people know who they are. So if you see that officer out and about, then okay, I know that he likes Michigan, you know, or so no, or just right, or just little things, so that, you know, now you're familiar with the officer that's in your area, as opposed to just seeing them drive by or seeing them out and about and not feeling like you can go up, because some people still, although the invitation is there, they still won't have that that comfort in going up to a police officer, you know, for whatever reason, you know. So for the person to get to know them, you know, being on the Markey Chukes show, they'll be familiar with them, and so when they see them out and about, okay, I can go up and talk to them because I know they like the same teams that I like, or whatever the case may be. So if you could, you know, get officers out from different areas of the city so we can know, you know, who our officers are, so, you know, when we do see them out and about, then, you know, we could feel more comfortable speaking with them. And I'm going to pass it back to Markey. Markey has one more question. For me? For them?
For you. I'll talk to you later. Okay. Is there any room for diversity in the police department? Lima is slowly growing, and all type of different nationalities are coming in or whatnot. I read in the New York Times in something that was posted in 2008, January 2008. And this was a little bit after the Tarika Wilson incident. And it stated at the time, this is in 2008, that blacks were 37% of the population in Lima. Population of, I think it was 38,000. Most officers at that time were commuting from surrounding areas, rural areas, where you hardly ever seen a black face. So, do you foresee anything in the future where the police department could be more diverse, as in not only training but actual people, you know?
Actually, that is a very good question, and I apologize. I should have probably addressed that with one of your earlier questions. But yes, absolutely, diversity in our hiring is an important thing. The problem we do have, though, sometimes is that we do not get minorities showing up to take the civil service exam. And I will tell you that we've requested a civil service exam for the fall for the position of police officer. And now the exact date on that has not been set yet, but we will be posting that test on the www.limapolice.com website when we have the specific date. We are hoping to be able to have a few tutorials given for people to better prepare them for the civil service exam. And now there are restrictions, such as you cannot have a felony conviction on your record to be a police officer. And there's other restrictions like that, which again we will have those posted on our website for people to see. But yes, we need to encourage minorities to come out and take the civil service exam.